Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our series. Let me share this screen here. For those who are not in our Discord, this is San Francisco College of Technology and Design, one of the best places to learn coding and design in Cebu, for sure. Excited to have our Cebu Strong workshop, starting off with two amazing people. We have Aaron Bunani, who's going to be teaching today and discussing some of the fundamentals of design and some theoretical approaches to building wireframes and mock-ups for designs. And we have Charles Navabos, who is a great UX researcher, is going to be talking about UX research and how to go about that for your projects. Some people were asking about some of the other announcements that we have. For example, the prize from the best projects. We will have 4 projects that we will be giving prizes to. One of the projects will receive a cash prize, which will be announced next week. And all 4 of the people that win as the other prizes will get a 1-year scholarship for SF Tech courses to learn coding and design for the entire year, post-COVID. So when things kind of get back in session, if they ever do, hopefully.
So guys, I'm Aaron Bunani. Can you hear me? Yeah. So the participants does hear me? Do hear me? Yeah. Okay. So I will be introducing myself. I'm a UI UX designer and also a graphic designer here in FlatX and in Ganchi Incorporated. Also previously FlatX, and they changed it to Inganchi. So right now I'm going to talk about UI UX design fundamentals. So I think some of you are familiar with this, but more of you don't know about this course because for me when I started it's something like rare kind of job, but now I'm here. I think this is very exciting, and this is a very interesting job as a UI UX designer. It's very interesting if you love designing mobile apps, website, or system software like that. So as we go through this course, I'll be sharing you the presentation. So welcome to our course. I'll be teaching you more about fundamentals, just a basic one for the starter. So hopefully you will learn more about this course. And also Sir Charles will be teaching about research, UX research. So more on focus on interacting with people or users. And about the course, we will discuss about what is UX design, interaction design, the UX flows, and the UI design. So UI design principles, information architecture, interface elements. So as we start here, I have a small activity that you need to answer. Which one will you prefer to buy? So just observe about these products, two products, product one and product two, if what's the difference, and if you will choose which one you will buy. And so these products has both same price and both same content. So if you're the customer or the user, which one you prefer to buy? So right now we will be talking about what is UX design. So I will be discussing later about those activity. And user experience design. So when you say UX design, it's short for no. The UX is the meaning of UX is user experience. So when we say user, the one who uses the people, the human, and experience is how you feel. So the emotion or the psychology. It's more on psychological aspect of human being. So design is solution plus aesthetics. So we'll define about user experience design. So it is about more than making a system or product easy to use. So the important here in user experience is you focus on the user's perception and responses that results from the use of the product or system. So there's an adage that says, "Don't make users think." So as we as designers, so for those who want to design, so we should strive to reduce the user's cognitive load and lower the cost of interaction. So we must design it easy to use products or user friendly so that it will be easy and smooth for the users to use. And right now, based on my discussion about what is UX design, so we'll come back here in this activity. So if you observe the first product, the product one is in the cotton buds has diagonal position. Oh no, vertical position. So the other one is horizontal in position. So the difference here, when you open at the top, in the first product, you will when you get the cotton buds, you will get the head of the cotton buds. So if your hands are dirty, so there's a possibility that the other cotton buds will get dirty also. But the other one is horizontal. So the disadvantage this one is when you get the cotton buds, you can get it immediately without putting dirt on the cotton buds. So what I want to emphasize about UX design, that when we create product, we will make sure that the customer or the user will use it safely, will use it comfortably. So, and will use it for the best way that they can use the product. So we'll proceed to interaction design. So interaction design is the design of interactive products and services in which a designer's focus. So our focus as designer goes beyond the item in development to include the way users will interact with it. So it is more on survey or research to the users who will use the product. So this will be emphasized by Sir Charles Novabos in the next meeting, the next session. So Sir Charles is expert in this field, and he will help you so much about this stuff. So there are 5 dimensions of interaction design. So first, words. So it encompasses text such as buttons, labels, which give your users the right amount of information. So you will just, when you create some, for example, buttons, so you will put a words that will indicate what type of action that the users will do, so that they will be guided where to go. And the second, visual representations. So these are graphical elements such as images, typography, and icons that aid in user interaction. So using visual representations, it will lessen the messiness of the product. So you're just using visual representation to emphasize what do you mean. So for example, the icons. So we're not using words because it can mess up the website or mobile apps. So we're just using icons so that it will be clean and more simple. And the third one, physical objects or space, refers to the medium through which users interact with a product or service. For instance, a laptop via a mouse or a mobile phone via fingers. So I will be having an example later about this mobile phone via fingers. So it's somewhat users to the hardware or the interaction with the software. And fourth, time relates to media that changes with time, such as animation, videos, and sounds. So you can put some animation, videos, or sounds in your product. And fifth, behavior is concerned with how the previous 4 dimensions define the interactions a product affords. For instance, how users can perform actions on a website or how users can operate a car. Behavior also refers to how the product reacts to the user's inputs and provides feedback. So it's all about how the users react in using your product. So it's very critical that we will be creating a user-friendly product so that it will not add a cognitive load to the users. So we will be discussing right now the UX laws. So it's like principles. So laws of UX is a collection of the maxims and principles that designers can consider when building user interfaces. So please focus on this part also, because this will be used when creating the interface of the product. For example, we will be creating website. After this session, I will be giving you an assignment. So please focus on this part also. So first law is the aesthetic usability effect. So users often perceive aesthetically pleasing design as design that's more usable. So aesthetically pleasing design can make user more tolerant of minor usability issues. Yeah, that's true. When you use, for example, when you use a website that is very beautiful. So you will not focus on the usability issues or the things that that get rid of you when you use the product. So when you see a beautiful one, it will create a positive response in which you will focus. The user will focus on on scrolling your product, on searching your product because they like it. So there's a possibility that they will they will try your service. So next one is this is the example of the aesthetic usability effect. So this website, the myininventory.com is a is a design and development agency. So what I put here an example is um, when you see the design, it's kind of interesting and and eye-catching, and it's simple. But the one that I found out, the usability issues that I found out is when you use the mouse. So when you use the mouse, there's a small button. This is example of the small button. No, not small button. A small object, a circle object that is that surrounds the mouse pointer. So it can affect when you interact with the object. So, but the best thing is the design is beautiful, so the user can enjoy seeing this one. So maybe I can give you an example. I think we don't have much more time to. I think I just have some example here. Okay. So here we go. So this is the example one. So the usability issues that I found is the circle that distracts when you scroll, and this one, this pointer has circle surrounds it. So when you click the, for example, here you click the menu, it can distract the interaction with the buttons. So I think it's more beautiful. It's more better if they'll take out these circle buttons. So next one. So next one is fit slow. So the time to acquire a target is a function of the distance to and the size of the target. So touch targets should be large enough for users to both discern what is and to accurately select them. So touch targets should have ample spacing between each other. So example here. So what does the fit slow emphasize is the touch target will must be uh, what we call this, must be focused on the nearer part of the object. So for example, when we see the ASUS website, so you can see the buttons here is near enough with the other buttons. So it is uh, very easy to make the users found the buttons, because it's just has the target, has the distance that is near to the target. So this is one of the best example I see in the internet. So when we create a website, so it's much better that we'll put the buttons near on the target. It's almost in the backs of the needed target that the users will go through. So the next one is, this is what I said earlier about the example of using the mobile phone, and it will be connected to FitSlow. So when we design in a mobile phone, so we will follow the thumb zone. So here in the right thumb, so this is the easy spot of the users when they use the phone, and this is the medium spot, and this is the hard spot. So it is very critical to put the important buttons or icons here in the easy part, the easy spot, so that it will be easy and comfortable for the users. So the next one is slow. So the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices. So it's all about of the number and complexity of choices. So to simplify our choices for the users by breaking down complex tasks into smaller steps, so we'll be making the complex one to a more simpler one. So avoid overwhelming users by highlighting recommended options. So use progressive onboarding to minimize cognitive load for new users. So here the example. Mostly the example of this one is when we create an e-commerce website like Amazon, for example. So despite the whole bunch of products they have, so they make it more easier to the users to use. So despite of the complexity of choices, so they make it more easier and simpler. So for example, like this, when you see here the shop category, the Amazon basics, the women's fashion sneakers, like that. So it has been grouped together so that it will not, because if you will put here all the products, it will give it will make mess with the website or the product. So the next one is Jacob's Law. So users spend most of their time on other sites. So this means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all the other sites they already know. Users will transfer expectations they have built around one familiar product to another that appears similar. So that's true. By leveraging existing mental models, we can create superior user experience in which the user can focus on their task rather than learning new models. So that's true. when using the sites, when we create a design, so it's a very critical that we will create a design the same way as all other sites they already know. So we will creating a design that is familiar to the people. So when you observe the website, they have all the same way, all the same flow. It is because the users it is because for the users to use it freely as the same way they experience in the past products they use. So that's Jacob's law. So next one is the law of common region. So elements tend to be perceived into groups if they are sharing an area with a clearly defined boundary. So it, it focuses on perceived groups in a defined boundary. So common region can be created by defining a background behind an element or group of elements. So here's the example. So we'll see here in uxpin.com. So I just make an example of ebooks. So they group together the the product image and the typography or the title of that product. So we will see here there's a borderline here that tells us that it is one group. So that's how law of common region emphasize. So next one, law of pregnance. So people will perceive and interpret ambiguous or complex images at the simplest form possible because it is the interpretation that requires the least cognitive effort um, effort of us. So the human eyes likes to find simplicity and order in complex shapes. So because it prevents us from becoming overwhelmed with information. So that's true. So it is very critical that and important that when we create a design, we'll make the complex one into a simplified one. So for example, here in uh, here in the New York Times website, so it's a news website in New York. So you can see here they are grouped together. So this one is grouped together. So even though there are many updates of news every day, so they manage to group it together so that the users will know that this section, for example, is for this group only, and also this section here is for this group only. So it is being categorized by group so that the complex uh, the complex information will be put it into one. So next one is the law of proximity. Objects that are near or proximate to each other tend to be grouped together. So proximity helps to establish a relationship with nearby objects, and it helps users understand and organize information faster and more efficiently. So it almost same as before of the law of pregnancy. So the law of proximity it has tend to be grouped together. So let's have an example. So here's the example of nationalgeographic.com. So their website is so simple and beautiful. So they are grouped together. For example, here. So they are grouped together by imaginary boxes. So for example, here it's like a box here that that focuses on the image and the title, and also here is big box here, so the images and the title inside of it. So, and the next one is law of similarity. The human eye tends to perceive similar elements in a design as a complete picture, shape, or group, even if those elements are separated. So, so it's like perceiving a similar object that you see in a particular website or product. So the key takeaways ensure that links and navigation systems are visually differentiated from normal text elements and are consistently styled. So let's have this example. So for example here in github.com, so we can see here despite the elements are different inside a particular box, so we can see here it's organized, and we can, as user, can know where's this group here, and for example the buttons. So the, we can know here that it is a button because it is highlighted as green color and it's put on a group box that is called form. So example also here, and a button here. So we can tend to perceive similar elements in a design, in a complete picture. So that's what law of similarity emphasizes. So when we create buttons, we make sure that it looks like button like that. So when we create forms, make sure that it looks like a form, a similar one that had been used. And Miller's law, the average person can only keep 7 plus or minus 2 items in their working memory. So remember, based on research, the Miller's law says that we we as users can keep our working memory 5 to 7 items. So Miller's law is chunking it. So it's going to chunks the items 5 to 7 items like that. So chunking is an effective method of presenting groups of content in a manageable way. Organize content in groups of 5 to 9 items at a time. So let's have an example here in Nike.com. So if you see here, this is one chunks of item here above. So one, and the next one here, second, and the next one here, third, fourth, fifth, seventh. So no, six chunks of of groups. So we'll see that it's very simple and clear, and we will know where's the group or region focuses, because they put it some borders to to provide a perception of users that they will know this one is for only this group. So that's the law of that's Miller's law. Sorry, I forgot to edit here. So this is Miller's law, not law of similarity. So Miller's law. So next one, Occam's razor. Among competing hypotheses that predict equally well, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. So it is more hypothesis, the one that the fewest assumptions should be selected. So based on assumptions. So analyze each element and remove as many as possible without compromising the overall function. So remember, just focus on the most important that you will put in the product. So the next one, Pareto principle. The Pareto principle states that for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. So I think there are many familiar of you about this type of stuff of 80% effect and 20% causes. So it's more about, it focuses the majority effort on the areas that will bring the largest benefits to the most users. So we'll see here that I think you can put it in how what you put in your product, what the elements or objects that you put on your product, or the flow that you provide in your product. It only comes from 20% of the causes. So when the user use the product, so see to it that it will be more easy and simple and comfortable and intuitive for them. So because there are only 20% of the causes, so it's very important that that you can follow this principle when creating the website or apps or system, so that the users will have the possibility to try your service or your products. So next one, pick and rule. So people judge an experience largely based on how they felt at its peak and at its end, rather than the total sum of average of every moment of the experience. So yeah, that's true that the people judge an experience largely based on how they felt, because what we have discussed a while ago about UX design. UX design focuses more on psychology, so or more on their feelings. So that's why it's very important to let to have the users have a good experience in using your products. So pay close attention to the most intense points and the final moments or the end of the user journey. So identify the moments when your product is most helpful, valuable, or entertaining, and designed to make those moments even better. So we can apply here in entertaining. For example, we can use videos or illustrations. Illustration is the best way to entertain the users when they are interacting with the product. So remember that people recall negative experiences more vividly than positive ones. Yeah, that's true psychologically with people. And the next one is Postel's law. Be liberal in what you accept and conservative in what you send. Yeah. Be empathetic, flexible, and tolerant to any number of actions the user could possibly take. This means accepting variable input from users, translating input to meet the requirements, defining boundaries for input, and providing clear feedback to the user. So it is very important, no, that we will must be empathetic so that we can, it's like putting ourselves into the user's shoes. So let's be understanding with the user, so that we can create a good design and we can make it more interactive and intuitive. And so positioning key actions on the far left and right with elements such as navigation can increase memorization. So that's why we create elements like navigation or the header, for example, so that they can memorize it immediately. So no, I'm sorry. I So in Postil's law, so what I said, we must be understanding about the users. And here in serial position effect, it's all about propensity to best remember the first and last items in a series. So let's have an example for these items. The navigation, for example, here, it says that the first and last items in a series, or the less important item in the middle. So the most important items is in the left and in the right side. So for example here, so we see here that the first one they put is how it works button. So this section helps the people, the users, especially to the new one who are not familiar with this kind of product, with this kind of website. So they put here so that based on survey and research, people tend to memorize immediately here in the left and the right side. So we can also see here the right side is sign in and try it free. So almost of the websites use this pattern because it is very effective for the users, because it is researched by the so-called psychologists that the middle part cannot be memorized immediately by the people. So it is better to put it important buttons in the left and the right side. So that's the serial position effect. So I'm so sorry I wasn't able to change it. And the next one is von Restorff effect or isolation effect. So the von Restorff effect, also known as the isolation effect. So it predicts that when multiple similar objects are present, the one that differs from the rest is most likely to be remembered. So let's have an example here of von Restorff effect. So here we go. So these are plans, price for every plans when using the Hostinger website. When you are web hosting, so they put here in this way, the most popular, they make it a color pink. So we say that it's an isolation effect. So that the user will know what's the best option here. So that's what we we apply it to them. So we'll focus on in creating the isolation effect. So we must focus also what's the most important for that kind of, of category. So it depends on the circumstances of what what design you will do. And the next one is Zeigarnik effect. So people remember uncompleted or uninterrupted tasks better than completed tasks. So use progress bars for complex tasks to visually indicate when a task is incomplete and thus increase the likelihood it will be completed. So that's true that people usually remember uncompleted or interested tasks better than completed tasks. So we'll see here an example. So when we see some other sites, for example, you are registering to their product or some kind of application like that you are registering in a website, you will see other website that has these steps like this. That, for example, here is step 1, registration. Next one, fill out some stuff like that. Next one. So it helps you where did you started and where were you finished of that step. So if you're finished in step 1 and step 2, so you put it in a green color. And if you are presently in step 3, so you put it in a blue color. So the one that's not finished, so they put it in a light gray color. So it's very important to use color about this type of steps so that the users will know where they're going and where they're finished. So the next one, we will be discussing right now the UI design. So UI design is user interface design. So user, human, and interface is coherence. So coherence is a systematic or logical connection or consistency. So we're creating design consistent so that it will be familiar to the users. So design, solution plus aesthetics. And user interface design is the process designers use to build interfaces in software and computerized devices, focusing on looks or style. So that's UI design emphasizes the looks and style, but remember, through user experience design, we can help it more intuitive, more simple, and more user friendly style. So designers aim to create interfaces which users find easy to use and pleasurable. UI design refers to graphical user interfaces and other forms. So let's continue. UI design principles. So this is also very important. The UI design principles to apply so that your interface will be more intuitive. And first one is naturalness. So the use of familiar to the user concepts and images creates an intuitive interface. It becomes a kind of bridge connecting the images of the real world with those actions and objects that the user has to manipulate. So users remember the action associated with a familiar object easily. Then they would remember the name of the command associated with that action. So So you're making your design more natural or intuitive. So when we say intuitive, it's like the user is using your product unconsciously. So it's like he's using on the flow like that, like easy, that like without thinking a lot like that. It becomes a bridge, kind of bridge connecting the images of the real world with those action and objects that a users manipulate. So it's like a bridge of the interface and the user. So how how the users interact your product is it depends on how good your design or how bad your design. So the next one is consistency. Allows users to transfer existing knowledge to new tasks, master new aspects faster, and focus on solving the problem, rather than waste time understanding the differences in the use of certain controls, commands, etc. Ensuring the continuity of previously acquired knowledge and skills, consistency makes the interface design recognizable and predictable. So what I discussed a while ago, that consistent making your product consistent will help the users familiar about the flow of the elements that you put in the interface. So make it consistent. For example, the buttons, if your primary buttons is color green, so make it all green. So if you're using if you're making a cancel button, it's like light gray like that. So make it all consistent to other, the size and the font. And the next one, friendliness. Friendliness. Even with a well-designed UI, users can make certain mistakes. These errors can be either of a physical type, random selection of a command or data, or a logical one, making the wrong decision to choose a command or data. As Ben Snyderman's The 8 Golden Rules of Interface Design states, a friendly interface should allow preventing situations that are likely to result in errors. The UI design should also be able to adapt to potential user errors and facilitate the process of eliminating consequences of such errors. So it's very critical of the errors in our design. So let's make it more friendly so that the users can have an easy access and will not be frustrated or disappointed when using your product. And the next one, clarity. The users need to understand what they interact with through the interface. There should be no confusion. So it must be clear. Clarity is about giving users confidence and willingness to continue interacting with the interface. So if your screen are clear and simple, so it will be better for the user to continue to use it because they're comfortable using it. And the next one, interaction. So the primary purpose of interface is to allow people interacting with the world. So it's to match the system and the real world. Through the interface, we get access to services. So interfaces perform a specific task, and their effectiveness is measurable. However, they may go beyond practical applications. The best interface are those that surprise, inspire, awaken feelings, strengthen the experience in the interaction with the world. So, so it says that the best interface is surprises or inspire or 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 trig or triggering the positive feelings of the user. So what are the examples of this? So what I told you a while ago, you can use illustrations when creating interfaces design, so that especially those friendly illustrations that can trigger your positive emotions like that. But those illustrations will also reflect to the product, not just putting illustration for the sake of, of design like that, of aesthetic. No, just put an illustration that is very helpful for the product and fit to your product. And next one, transparency. It is very easy to go overboard and add unnecessary layers to the interface. Extra buttons, graphics, options, windows, attachments. The user will have to go through all that to get to the point. To avoid that, UI design should be aimed at direct control and naturalness. So that's true that uh, it will be very easy to go overboard and add unnecessary layers. But remember, uh, when creating products, it's more. Let's have to um, make it more shorter and simpler. No extra buttons like that. No extra graphics that are not needed, or extra illustrations that are not that can affect the usability of your website or product. So the interface should be so invisible that the user has the feeling of direct control over the object of attention. So that's what transparency focuses, that it must be invisible, that the user has the feeling of direct control. So it's like he really controls your product. He really knows how to control your product. And next one is strong visual hierarchy. The article by Two Big Studio explains what a strong visual hierarchy is and how it helps the user understand the order in which the visual elements on the screen should be viewed. It allows setting the sequence and smoothly directing the user's view from one interface element to another. So with a weak visual hierarchy, the interface looks overloaded and messy. So I'll give an example of visual hierarchy. So example this one. Oh no. Example this one, strong visual hierarchy. This is the title. So so because this is the title of this subject, so I make it more bigger, and I make it color much colorful than the other one, so that it will highlight the emphasis of the subject. The next one, this is the definition of the topic. So I put it as smaller one, so that it will contrast the 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 title. So so I put it I put the title above, because the normal thing what people do when reading is they usually start above the pages in the left side. So that's what um, visual hierarchy focuses how how you how can you help your audience or your user focus on on the important things through contrast like that, through colors that you will use in your design. And the next one, step-by-step information flow. The screen has to show only the necessary information. If a person has to make a choice, it has to provide enough information to make a decision and proceed with details on the following screens. There is no need for unnecessary details all at once. They should be delivered gradually. So step-by-step information flow is how you're making your design more informative. So the screens must, if you have more pages, so make it more more informative. So step by step, so that the users will not be confused. So the next one is invisibility. It allows the user focusing on the goals without being distracted by the interface. Although it might be hard for a designer to implement, less is better. So we'll focus here in this phrase, less is better. So in creating a design, you must focus the goals without being distracted by the interface. So let the users use your product without being distracted by other not important objects on the that you put on the product or the website. So less is better. So make a design more lesser elements but important for the user to use. So next one, information architecture. So information architecture focuses on organizing, structuring, and labeling content in an effective and sustainable way. The goal is to help users to find information and complete tasks. To do this, you need to understand how the pieces fit together to create the larger picture, how items relate to each other within the system. So information architecture is like your make before creating your website, for example, you must create a blueprint first. For example, using a paper and pencil to write down what's the elements or the important things that you will put in your product. So for example here, before we go into the example, let's have this the information architecture structures, organization schemes and structures. So how you categorize and structure information. So it's more on organizing and, and categorizing your structure of information. So next one, labeling systems, how you represent information. So next one is navigation systems, how users browse or move through information. And the next one is search systems, how users look for information. So I just only a small example of sitemaps because we have no more time to discuss all the examples. So the sitemap, so it is one of the very important thing to do when creating a system. So you'll apply the information architecture. So this sitemap is very important in applying the information architecture. So here we can see the example. So for example, I am creating a blog website. So a simple blog website. So first I create a home. This is for the home page. So, and this is the flow. So the home page has navigational buttons of blogs, about, and contact. So the blogs has category of buttons of arts and design, music, technology, travel. So this is what the blogs talks about arts and design, music, technology, and travel. So the about is it discuss about the company, what is the company, and the founder and the objectives. It depends what will you put here in the about page. And the next one, the contact page. So you'll put your phone email, your contacts, and your address. You can also put a map from Google Map. So this is the simple example of sitemap. So before creating a website, make sure you create a sitemap, and you can also create a user story. So I wasn't able to emphasize it because we have only a little time to discuss it. So I just put the sitemap as an example. But you can also apply to user stories. It depends on you. You can research it. And wireframe. Um, so this is the example of wireframe. So you can only use paper and pencil. So you draw here the the elements that you will put in your website. So for example here, you put here the logo, you will put here the navigation bar here at the top, and here the topics or cards or images or whatever you put in your website. So it's better to use pen and pencil so that if you have an error, you can erase it immediately. Next one, interface elements. So right now I have an examples of interface elements. So in designing your interface, try to be consistent and predictable in your choice of interface elements. Whether they are aware of it or not, users have become familiar with elements acting in a certain way. So choosing to adapt those elements when appropriate will help with task complete efficiency and satisfaction. So try to be consistent and predictable in your choice. So it must be consistent. It must be intuitive to use. So for example, here, so what you see here, there's only three colors, black, gray, and pink. So I use the branding of SF Tech. So here's the example of interface elements: menu, checkbox, search bar, icons, drop down boxes, button, and it's much better before going through the the final markup or the high fidelity markup to make sure you create an interface design elements that are consistent to each other. The design are consistent. So for example, I make the design a square one, not a rounded one. So you will observe all the sides of the objects are pointed. So I'll make it consistent so that it will be same as the other pages. And Also, this example, the card, form, the carousel. So this is disabled icon. This is the abled one, and this is disabled toggle icon. This is a on one. And next one is right now. I plan to give you an assignment because it will be much better if you make it an assignment, because it takes time to make this design. So when creating a design, it's not just you make it immediately like that without thinking about this product, what might happen like this. So before creating the website, make sure to study and research. So you have two options of this assignment. So first is online apparel store, and the second one is fast food restaurant. So it depends on you. So I give the objectives of this company. So it's just a mock-up company. So it doesn't need to be issue. And this one is for the fast food restaurant. This one is for online apparel store. So the first one is Mountain Wave. So an online apparel store that sells outdoor products on various brands. Objective: make the website's interface simple and adventurous. So please focus this one, that when you create that website, it must be simple and adventurous to see and use to the users. Need only a landing page, product page, and contact page. So you will be making only 3 pages for the landing page or home page, the product page, and the contact page. So use the logo and color scheme, and you can choose any accent color. So here's the primary color, and this is the secondary color, and this is the accent color. So the accent color is for example the color of the button and the links that you will put. So you can choose secondary color, for example, to make your buttons like that. It depends on you how you will use the accent color. Choose the best fit for it. And don't worry, I will give you this PDF, this PowerPoint, so that it will be your guide. You can also search the internet for more guidance and more research about this stuff. The next one, Paradise Place, a fast food restaurant that serves burger, fries, and soda drinks. So objective: make the website lively and yummy to look in order to attract more customers. So make it look lively and yummy for the users.